There is so much going on in the world, okay? The banks are failing. I found this out this morning. There's a meteor that has a 1 in 560 chance of hitting Earth in 2040. People are in dire straits. They're stressed out of their mind. Their kids won't stop talking, and they need a little bit of relief. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to provide that peace, that tranquility, that breath in, breath out for you with a little bit of satisfaction.
I think you're right. People need satisfying renders, and we're gonna give them to you.
Are you here for the satisfying renders?
I think so. Satisfying renders? I have no idea what's going on.
Wes, what do you find satisfying? Visually, auditorily? Sonically?
Like your TikTok video.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he does TikTok!
Big TikTok star. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, that stupid little video I made got 200 million views on TikTok. The satisfying puzzle piece.
It was the slide in and it... I like that. Yeah.
Ooh, do it again.
I feel like for a lot of creative things, you know, you're only competing against your previous self, but for this one, we're competing against Ren.
That's the best thing you've ever done. And for all of us, we could still achieve that and fall short of the glory of what Ren's already done. But Ren can only achieve that if he beats his past self. Have you become worse as an artist, Ren?
Okay, so some ground rules. We have a few days here to finish this render. Looping is a requirement. Sound design. You gotta do sound design. Let's not make any Pixar films.
I would never do anything like that and finish it.
Oh, man.
Well, okay. I mean, I thought I was gonna have more time to work on this.
Pixar film one day to do it, and you're like, I'm gonna make a movie.
Release the Peter cut.
Yeah.
It's beginning of Monday right now. We got the rest of this week to finish this stuff. Let's meet back up on Friday and satisfy each other.
Satisfaction to me, I feel like it comes down to the usual suspects, right? It's the color, it's the sound, it's the design, the loopability, all very important. And for me, I like machines that make things and break things or just do things in a seamless loop, mechanically and perfectly. I thought there was a machine that could perfectly create and destroy gold. Hot, liquid, molten gold into this orb, and it hardens. You hear the freezing, the crackling, the satisfying, the release of the pressure from inside as the machine opens up, revealing your new golden orb. But what fun is gold when it's not shared? Cut right down the middle with a laser, melting, gooey down the middle, and slides down two sides of the ramp. 2, steel cut blades, come out from the sides, angle down, and scrape the remaining gold away, right into your bank account. That's satisfying to me. Not real gold. We should add a disclaimer. I'm not sending you real gold, or even fake gold. It's not Bitcoin either. It actually has no value. Should we do an NFT? There's actually a lot to unpack in the week that we have. You know, the first thing I need to do is build a machine, right? I need to build an actual orb capsule that can open and close with mechanical arms. I need to design an environment with the sliding ramps, with trap doors for the laser to come through, the actual laser itself, the tube system that's going to be pouring the liquid. There's also the simulation side, which is what so far has taken the longest. You need smoke simulations for when the capsule opens. You know, the pressure release, you really want to feel that. When the laser is cutting through the gold, that is actually creating some smoke as well. All of these are different simulations. And then of course you have my favorite simulation in this whole piece, which is the solid gold turning into liquid again. So obviously you guys know there's different types of simulations, right? There's particle simulations, which you see with sparks and confetti or you know, little particles that can fly all around and they don't have to interact with each other. It's totally fine that they pass through each other because there's so many. There's also the volume simulations that you're very familiar with from any explosions, any, you know, smoke simulations, any real pyro simulation, anything with volume that is moving and emulating the motion of smoke. Flip is essentially the combination of the two. Flip is the idea of taking your particles and transferring them into the volume world, kind of like the Wraith world in Shadow of Mordor or in Lord of the Rings in general, right? You're seeing things that don't exist on the physical plane. When the particles move into the volume world, they suddenly become aware of their neighbors and their neighbors' velocities. Now, the point of a flip sim is to achieve what's called non-divergence, which is just a fancy word that means flow direction. We don't want to flow into each other. That's not how rivers work. Rivers meet and then whoop, the area of least pressure, that's where it flows. For this one, I started with a very, very high viscosity, so it's almost like a solid. And as the laser's going through, I'm procedurally telling Houdini, hey, wherever this laser interacts with, the points in that area, reduce their viscosity from 1,000,000 to 1. And what that's doing is, as the laser's moving through this ball, it is literally changing the viscosity attribute of the points, which is causing them to fall down. Now, I could go on about fluids for an hour, and that's why I did. There's a literal hour tutorial on CorridorDigital.com that breaks down one of the liquid simulations from this satisfying render. It's a Houdini tutorial, but I believe that the core concept of flip fluids, is universal. Learn a little bit about that, and the world will be yours. So check it out on the website if that sounds interesting to you, or if you're just kind of into this moment right now. We can have more of a moment in private on the website.
So the concept for my satisfying render came from being at a Christmas party where there was a pool table, and a buddy of mine just pulled off this awesome shot where we got like a whole bunch of the balls in at once, and the sound it made, that crack breaking the triangle, and there's something so satisfying about a trick shot, as we learned from Jordan Allen failing against Jake. That really just inspired me. I was like, I wonder how I could incorporate full wipe of a pool table where all the balls are cleared off in one shot, the perfect shot, and have that seamlessly loop. But what I landed on was actually simulating all of the balls falling into the scene. The first day working on this, you know, I was riding high, I got my pool table set up, it looked cool, I got the balls working, I got the simulation working where they all fell into place, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be easy. But then came the part of actually having to play virtual pool, and turns out I might be better at pool in real life than I am virtually. Because it got down to like, I'm here, I'm adjusting my pool cue just like by tiny little, you know, fractions, decimal points. Because I had to keyframe in, you know, the pull back of the cue to get the right power, perfectly lining it up with where this little piece of geometry interacted with this ball. And it turns out that's really, really hard. So I did simulate it, it did hit, and I got it to the point where this is all simulation, it hits this, and this is where I started to hand animate things because I could not get them all in. Simulations are supposed to mimic reality, and reality is hard.
Apology accepted.
Mental health matters.
It does.
I did end up getting to the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna cheat this a little bit. I'm gonna do some air bending similar to I advised Jordan Allen on his challenge. And it got me to a point where I could actually get all of the balls into the pockets and then just animating so that it seamlessly loops once the cue ball bounces off the back, and then that sets us back to our first frame where it then rolls into place and never actually stops moving before it's hit. And try to blend the simulated parts of this scene with the actual hand animated parts. And then I was like, you know what though, it's kind of boring if it's just that. And so I wanted to do some like environmental storytelling, so I got a whole bunch of different assets. I've been watching Last of Us because the show is absolutely amazing, and I wanted to do kind of like what if there was like a bar in The Last of Us, so I did this old looking pool table where I took a bunch of different textures and mixed materials together as if there's been people just ripping up the green of the pool table, revealing these boards underneath. All the broken up wood, added some beer bottles in here that you can hardly even see in the final render, but they're there and they looked really nice. And I just wanted it to be like, all right, what if like you were just exploring some abandoned buildings in The Last of Us and you happened across a pool table? You might want to play with your buddies. So there's like stacks of dollar bills and stuff as if someone, you know, was placing some crazy bets right as the apocalypse happened. There's a nice hunting knife shoved in the corner there. It's my favorite little part. There's a little cigarette there, and nice. This actually lights up in the scene, and I made a looping smoke element so that once the loop of the scene starts again, that it's a seamless loop of this element. There's little particles as well throughout the scene, kind of spores, Last of Us style. Those subtle little atmospheric things, you might not see it at first, but it adds a little bit to the story of like, why is there this beat up pool table? And that was kind of my thought behind it, was it's like, what would you do if you stumbled across a pool table and you're just like, you know what? We don't need to find food, we just shoot some pool. And you happen to pull off the greatest shot of all time. Hopefully Wes is super satisfied.
Oh, hello there. Dr. Satisfaction at your service. This is kind of when I peaked. It became the 23rd most liked video on the entire TikTok platform. It's hard for me to not just sit here and think about this, because what made this work so well? What about this triggered the viral gods and was like, yes, this will be what we elevate to the people. And so I've been thinking about it. There's a lot going for it. Satisfying sounds, I think, is incredibly important. I like the sort of vibrant colors. It's a good looking image. I think I've kind of boiled it down to a few sort of nebulous elements that encourage this sort of virality. One of those being, you don't know that it looped. I think it tricked people into not knowing the video had ended, and so TikTok just thinks, wow, everyone must really like this video. They just keep watching it. So that's like the primary thing I want to bring to my new satisfying render. So I have an iPad app called Procreate. I love this app. I don't really have any sort of traditional education when it comes to painting or arts and stuff like that, but this has been an amazing way to practice all of that. And so I've done a whole bunch of stuff, but one day I discovered that you can just like make these lines of bold colors like this, and I can just like keep going through here. There's an effect called liquefy. You can push stuff around. I can like create crystals and stuff like that. Ooh, that's kind of cool. But there's another slider here called distortion. And if I max that out, it actually increases the number of swirls that I do. So literally all I have to do. And what's cool is that there's momentum to it as well. So like if I move it, it'll actually continue to swirl as if it's being physically simulated. And that's key here. It's what makes it look like liquid. I literally just sliced it up, exported it as an actual image sequence that I could then import into Cinema 4D as a texture. So my goal for the actual content of the satisfying render is to combine the paint swirls with a swirling cloth that disappears, allowing a new cloth to be painted on and then taken out with a camera move that just goes forever. That's the goal. I think I can do it. But first, I gotta actually figure out what my cloth simulation's gonna be. So I have this cloth sitting here on like a board with a hole in it. So my cloth here is literally just a very, very subdivided plane. Tons of polygons, but they're all flat. So by telling the program that this is a cloth and then taking some of the vertices of the cloth and pulling it through a hole, everything else should just follow. And it kind of does. Look at this. I mean, that's pretty satisfying. So I was digging this until I started realizing it kind of has, it's got a little bit of like sphincter energy, if you know what I mean. It's just a little bit buttholey, you know? I started panicking a little bit and was like, is this satisfying? I don't know. Hey, it's all right if it is, I'm just saying. So then I tried a different one where it gets pulled through like a gutter. So I just took that and I slapped it on here. Got a little hand that basically pulls this cloth through this gutter in the wall. But the problem though is that it wasn't checking that little box called satisfaction. It's not a satisfying shot. So then I went back to thinking about that hole in the ground. And I was like, what if that was inverted, like a vacuum cleaner sucking up a cloth? So this leads me to my third render that I made. The whole swirl is happening here. And what's cool is that you can actually see it clump up and then the glass sucks it up. Okay, this is great. So I've got the timing all spaced out perfectly. I've got the camera moving very consistently and linearly across the wood texture. Ideally, just add in some lights, get the camera move going, make sure that the actual wood texture is exactly scaled so that the distance the camera moves is one tile or multiple of those tiles. That's the secret to making a shot that just looks like it's moving forever. Making sure your tiling matches. We're a couple days away from showing Wes this, and I have to satisfy him. But this is shaping up to be a multi-100 frame render. This might be like 700 frames long. I don't think even overnight is gonna be enough time to render that. Fortunately, I've been using this service called Render Token. It's essentially cloud computing for Octane render, but it's not in the cloud, it's like crypto rendering. Well, what if instead of mining Bitcoin, that computer was rendering shots for you? I think that's gonna be my savior for this video because I'm running out of time to render this thing. My time actually has some value right now, AKA, I really need to satisfy Wes. So Wes here has already been sent the renders that we have ready. He is looking through them right now and measuring his own levels of satisfaction.
Sorry guys, Wes couldn't make it. The name's The Blast. So I'm gonna start with vendors real quick, okay?
Oh, he's picking them out.
Let's go.
He's choosing
Let's go.
Oh, perfectly lined up.
That's
Dude, this is what every pool player dreams of happening.
I was really happy, and then the 8-ball goes in last.
Oh, you're so advanced.
That is so satisfying.
Dude, that sound of the break is just...
Yeah. Yeah.
So good.
It's really hard to make a perfect pool shot. I had to use a little bit of like Avatar airbending to get some of them in there.
just makes a curve.
Yeah, it's like a, a little bounce shot.
Your advice to me was to introduce wind in order to make that shot, and you did the same thing, you son of a gun.
I did.
Welcome, ball benders.
We're ball benders.
That's what we do.
Fire, air, earth, water, and balls.
And balls, Captain Planet.
Peter's next.
Whoa, I don't know if I'm ready for this. No, I'm ready.
Wait a minute.
This is from like 2 years ago.
What is this?
Is it finally time? I've been waiting 2 years to be satisfied by this.
I can't believe it. Is this actually happening right now?
Run the tape.
Oh, look at that guy. I remember this. I saw this before I even knew Peter.
I can't believe it right now. This is
Wow, it's remastered.
this is updated.
This is different.
Dude, it's so good.
Peter, is that you?
Yes, dude.
It's old man me.
Oh man, you.
Peter.
Oh my god.
Bro.
Peter, I can't wait. Oh my god. The perfect house. Oh, and then the eyes close.
Gosh, wow.
Just give it to Peter.
Loved it. Great stuff.
Although, one of the criteria was that it had to perfectly loop.
Where is this criteria? If
Roll
this
it back.
criteria exists, roll it back, because I don't believe it.
Looping is a requirement.
Honestly, guys, it represents a circle of life, so technically that's a loop.
Circle of
Okay, circle of life, circle of life. I'll take it.
Circle
I'll
of
take
life
it.
of building a shed.
So my thing that I was trying to do was to make a looping video that you didn't realize was looping.
Ren, welcome back to the top of TikTok.
Yeah, dude. Let's go.
I just want to get sucked up, dude. Frick me.
I mean, hear me out.
What do you think, Wes?
It takes me back to when I used to go to theme parks. And I'd have a Slurpee. I'd have a fruit roll-up inside of there. And I'd just suck the fruit roll-up out.
Yeah,
That's good,
let's
right?
go. That's what I'm talking about.
Just the top of it, just a. Oh, I love it.
I literally had a pipe and I had a ball attached to the cloth underneath go animate up through the thing.
Oh, nice. That's why we have the spherical top on the
Yeah.
cloth there. Okay, cool. I hope to satisfy. I really do. I'm sorry for keeping you guys waiting. I know I've really pent you up. You're nice and tight, just the way I like it. And we're gonna loosen you up, make it even more exciting for you.
Bro, it was worth the wait.
Wow.
It was worth the wait.
That's how they make those Lindt chocolate balls.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know.
Dude, this is nice.
Thank you, brother.
So, Blash didn't see it, but you did.
Man, he had to run. I heard he was great. I heard he loved the whole show. But I did. I liked it.
Now that you've seen all 4 satisfying renders, who satisfied you the most?
I'm looking for a few things. I'm looking for satisfaction, and I'm looking for emotion, intention. Like, what is this? Are you guys bringing me into a story? But if I had to choose, I feel like I have to go with Peter.
Let's go!
Wow.
Wes, this is more meaningful to me than anything in my life has ever been. This one was really fun to make. It was surprising opening up my old Blender files, but then I opened it up and I was like, I gotta redo this because I could do much better now. And so I remade the assets. I remade the farmer completely from scratch. It's a 3D scan of my head with a 3D model of the body and the arms. I did the hair on the hedgehog again. I have new techniques I've learned over the past couple years for that. So it was nice to kind of revisit the old work and see how mediocre it was and now be able to do it in a nicer way.